Goeiedag aan al ons kykers hier op Praag TV, ons eie YouTube kanaal, wat besig is om drasties toe te neem in invloed en kykergetalle.
And I'm again talking to the lovely Brandi from Texas, an activist for Afrikaner rights in Texas. She's been doing a lot, doing filings on human rights and getting involved in promoting our cause all over the world. And she feels a great empathy with us, and especially the suffering that some of the victims of farm murders and women and children have gone through. And previously, Brandi, you referred to the shocking brutality that you've come across in your dealings with South Africa and in reading or following what's going on here. Has there been any recent incident that has struck you in that regard?
I mean, there was actually one just today. They found a woman, and I actually just read this. I was just reading on News 24. So she was killed she was found murdered in her apartment building in Bellville, in Cape Town. This morning, she was 32 years old. Lynette Volschenk was her name. So not only was Lynette murdered, but she was hacked to pieces.
I absolutely feel sick to my stomach. Yeah, it's like, you know, on the 6th to the 8th of September, we're going to do the cross laying, and you know, I don't even know how many crosses there is. There was 59 last year. I know that there's much more this year, and the sad part is, Brandi, that how many crosses do we have to plant? How many dead people do we have to celebrate in this country before somebody's gonna fucking do something? This is getting out of control and out of hand, and we have to stop this. It is affecting me so much every day that I read something like this. I can't handle it anymore. I'm just like, I just can't handle this anymore, because I just think about her fear and, you know, what she had to go through. The loneliness she had to experience in that moment that she was killed. And then to be chopped up, my God. The brutality of the murders in this country, you know, this is like, it's getting out of hand. Has people lost their minds? What the hell is wrong with this country? They just go beyond murder. They go beyond brutality. And I'm sorry, I'm so upset about it, but it's just ripped my heart apart today.
It's crazy to believe, to think of what this woman suffered. You know, it wasn't enough to just murder her, but you have to, I mean, they literally found pieces of her body in different bags.
No, that's absolutely horrific.
And this woman, I would like to say that with the information that I was given, this was a very well-liked, well-respected woman in the community. She was very kind, quiet. She kept to herself, and that everyone liked her, and that they found a candle still burning in her apartment by her bed.
Do you come across, just by way of comparison, are there things like that happening in the United States, or not very often? These sort of macabre murders.
I mean, we have murders, and I mean, there are serial killers, and these murders do happen, but they are very, well, I don't want to say very, because it seems that they are more than they used to be. But they do happen. There's one in particular that I will never forget the faces or the names. Christopher Newsom and his girlfriend, Shannon Christian. They were teenagers. They were kidnapped. Shannon was a very devout Christian. She was about 17 years old, I believe. She was saving herself for marriage, very active in the church. They were kidnapped and they were tortured for days. She was raped so brutally that her parents had to sit through the trial and listen to all of the injuries to her body, her throat being ripped, her mouth. I mean, they eventually stuffed her in a trash can where she suffocated.
Where did this happen?
I don't remember what state, but I want to say Chicago. They were on a bad side of town. Well, I mean, they were taken to a bad side of town. They were carjacked. Christopher Newsom was left on railroad tracks after he was set on fire. He was sodomized with an object. He was tortured. He was burned, shot. So it does happen. And these were just kids. And it was done because they were white.
Because they were white.
Yes.
And their assailants, they were not white, I suppose.
I believe there were 3 men, and there was a woman. A woman that sat in this house and watched this young girl go through this for a week. I don't care what color you are. I don't care anything about you. I, as a woman, am not going to sit and see another woman suffer anything like that, ever.
But you wouldn't say, well, in South Africa, it seems that this brutality has become characteristic of our society, and especially of this regime, of this ANC regime. But in the US, I mean, an incident like that, it seems exceptional. It's not characteristic of life in America.
No, it's not. It's very shocking.
Yes.
It's very shocking. And it was ignored. The media failed these kids here. Just so you know, it's not isolated to only South Africa that the media blacks things out. It just doesn't happen here, you know, like it does there. There, it's an everyday occurrence. Every day.
Yes, literally. Every week,
the rapes.
There's some murder or,
right.
Yeah, as you say, women.
Not only white people suffering.
Abused.
Right. And children. I mean, the rape rate for children, all children in South Africa is, I can't tell you the exact number, but it's horrifying. It's worse than the murder rate. I know that.
Yeah, South Africa is supposed to be the rape capital of the world. We have more rapes and sexual crimes than any other country on earth.
Right. And a lot of these are committed against children.
Yeah, these are very, not only shocking, but I think to explain them intellectually is also fairly complex. But the irony is that some of our people and some of our philosophers and academics have been predicting this kind of situation from the 1940s.
Right.
And they were taken seriously then, but they're not taken seriously now. All of their knowledge and analysis from that time has been discarded. And now it's as if we don't know anything, and we have to reinvent the wheel, as it were.
Nope. It's, you said it's complicated. In some ways, a lot of things are very complicated there. This issue of these rapes, these violent rapes, and dehumanizing even children, it's become acceptable. And not by everyone, but by certain people who practice certain, religious beliefs or cultural ideals. I don't know exactly what you would call it, but that differ from, Christian values. It's celebrated. I have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of screenshots of bragging of this online, of infecting children with AIDS, raping women, killing, torturing. And it's, in America, if someone raped a child, they would lie about it, right? They wouldn't post it on Facebook.
Yes, there was we translated a book from French into Afrikaans, and it was about it was about Africa and some of the war crimes that had been committed in Africa, written by a French journalist. Although he's of American origin, he's got an English-sounding name. His name is Stephen Smith, even though the book was originally written in French. And there's one chapter there which is entitled the Paradise of Cruelty. And it's a sort of a paradoxical notion, the paradise, which we usually associate with something nice, but of cruelty. But it's that once you enter into a world like that, where there are no social norms anymore, or civilizational norms, you can simply do what you like in a place where there are no rules. It does become a paradise of cruelty. So for the kind of the sadist and the murderer, they can do what they like. And
they become, it's a wonderland for predators.
Yes, a wonderland for predators. That's another very nice way of putting it.
Because there's no accountability.
That's what we've got. And even when these murderers and rapists are caught, they are sentenced, sometimes to a life sentence, but a life sentence in South Africa doesn't mean much. After 5 or 10 years, they can be out on the streets again.
Really?
Prisons, yes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the prisons are full, but
I've seen these monsters, demons that commit rapes of children, just things a human could not do. Not that I believe a human could do. And they laugh in court.
Exactly.
And they say, I would do it again. I would do it again.
Did you ever read the case of the so-called Tucky rapist?
I don't know.
Well,
if I did, I don't remember.
There was it was around, I think it was about 2012 or 2013. There was a young girl of 18 years old, and she was at home at night at 10 o'clock. She just come home from a church meeting. And then there was a young black criminal about early 20s, and he'd broken into her house and he was waiting for her, and then he ambushed her and he almost killed her. It was just a miracle that she survived. But while she was bleeding, he stabbed her 23 times. He stabbed her so hard that the part of the blade was stuck in her skull, and it had to be surgically removed afterwards. And while she was bleeding to death, he was raping her. That story was covered by one or two journalists in Pretoria in the court, but nobody else wrote about it. It was just completely swept under the carpet. And fortunately, her parents they sued the state for damages, and I think they got about 5 or 10 million rand from the state, because they'd actually he'd been up on a similar charge, on a rape charge before, and he was still awaiting trial on that, and they let him out on bail of 1,000 rand. I mean, can you imagine that? He was already charged with rape, and they let him out on a bail of 1,000 rand, which is the equivalent of maybe $60, $70.
Right. And you know he's a predator. He's done this before. Good. Well, I mean, it's not worth the money for this young girl to have suffered this. But at least
she had to have
they were held
surgery
accountable
and so on.
in some way.
Her face, I mean, he'd stabbed her in the face and so on. She was disfigured. She had to have plastic surgery.
And that's what I mean about the brutality. That to do this to a human being who you don't even know, the level of hate that it takes to stab someone so many times and so hard that you break a knife off in their skull. That is not a regular crime. Most people that kill somebody like here, they want to shoot them, that they don't want to see them. It's not so up close and personal and so just brutal. It takes hate to commit that kind of crime.
But I sometimes wonder if South Africa is an over-politicized country. Everything is here is political. It's completely over-politicized. It's like the Soviet Union was, or communist societies,
regulated.
or Cambodia, where if you wore glasses, they killed you because then you belonged to the privileged class, because it meant you could actually read, and they didn't want people to read. So they would just kill the people wearing glasses under Pol Pot in the late 70s. Now, we're almost at that stage here where it's become so crazy that...
because they want to control every single
there's
thing.
This constant propaganda from all the radio stations, TV stations.
But it's just about money. That's it.
Yeah. And they're keeping the entire country in this state of hysteria about racism and apartheid, and then you eventually get the effects of it in that some of these crazed criminals, they feel justified in exacting this kind of torture.
Because they believe.
Yeah. On innocent people.
They believe this propaganda. So my opinion on this is that the government does this, blames this on apartheid and the Afrikaner and English community to distract from who the real perpetrators of why people don't have anything, why everything is so horrible there. And whose fault is it? The government. Yet they lie to the people and blame a tiny minority of people and incite murder, rape, and worse against them when they are the perpetrators of the crime. They are the perpetrators of the crime. They lie to these people who then lie to their children from birth. They're indoctrinated to believe in some nameless, faceless entity that is just out to get them and keep them from ever having anything, ever succeeding in life. That is not conducive to society or your children.
Yes, you're right.
It's actually child abuse.
It's this perpetual cycle of ethnic revenge, and it's leading to
and
it's actually destroying us. And it's not only destroying us, but it's also destroying them, because ultimately
are dead.
Ultimately, it's also going to destroy our economy and our reputation in the
It
world.
already is.
It is, because a lot of people don't want to come here. We dependent on tourism, but,
Oh,
after so many tourists have already been
we
attacked.
have a travel warning to not travel to South Africa right now.
Is
An
that
American
right?
was just
From the
killed,
United
murdered.
States, from the State Department, they are.
Right now we have a travel warning about traveling to South Africa.
Well, there you have it.
From the State Department, who just denied someone's asylum claim based on South Africa is safe.
Well,
Figure
I also
that
saw a
one out.
list from the Netherlands, which has also been a very liberal country for decades now, and South Africa is not on the list of safe countries.
No, they know exactly what's going on. They do. There's no way that I know more than my government, and they have everything any person could ever need to get information at their fingertips. It's not possible.
But perhaps in closing this conversation, do you have any idea how could we change this? How could we bring it to an end? How do you see the path forward?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Yes.
My honest opinion is that there will never be change in South Africa until every single one of these hate-inciting, corrupt, gangster, mafioso parties are taken out of power. Someone who has integrity, Christian values, and is a reproach steps into a leadership role, because the torch keeps passing from one corrupt person to his little crony, the next corrupt person. So nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yes, you're right. We've got criminals ruling us. I mean, they're all involved in court cases and so on. And
it's like a prerequisite.
Even the mainstream media write about their corruption and how they're passing bags of money to one another, or they publish extracts from their bank accounts where they're receiving R500,000 or 3 million rand in bribes and so-called payments
we
to influence
filed on
people.
David Mabuza. There.
Okay.
Ramaphosa gave a statement in the media when asked about all of these claims about David Mabuza, all of the rumors. And Ramaphosa's statement was that nothing had been presented, no evidence had been presented to himself or the prosecutors on David Mabuza. That if credible evidence were to be presented, it would be investigated, taken seriously, and no one would have anything to fear. Well, we did file on David Mabuza with the statement of former hired hitman of David Mabuza and Steve Mabona. This statement is so detailed that it can be corroborated, a lot of it. He tells who he killed, when he killed them, where he killed them, why he killed them. They're all, most of them are dead. There are a few of them that survived, but, and they got back with us right away. I mean, we filed it with the chief ANC whip, the Zondo Commission, and Cyril Ramaphosa's office himself. They told us they were investigating. They were going to take it seriously. We've never heard one word back. This was done in January. And this is a valid court document stamped by the court magistrate that is very damning.
And nothing happened.
We knew nothing would happen.
Well,
if that happened in my country, it would, someone would be getting the death penalty.
Yeah, he would be out of office, or he would be fired, or he would almost be ruined for life. His career would be ruined for life. He would have to go and do another job.
Right. Like kind of how they've done to Steve Hofmeyr, and yet Julius Malema still has a job.
Yes,
Not
you're quite
very.
right. Do you listen to Steve's music sometimes?
I have listened to some of his music, but I mostly just have a great respect for him because he does a lot of great things, and he sacrificed a lot to speak for his people. And he does not receive the respect or the credit that he deserves for that. And be boycotted and all of this. He could have just kept his mouth shut and kept singing, but he did not. And I stand up for him a lot because I don't think enough people do. He stood up for you. You should stand up for him.
Well, I have stood up for him, yes. Not always
No, I don't
with
mean
great
you.
success,
I'm
but
speaking
yeah,
into
sure.
general to the public.
Okay, great. No, you're right. You should tell them to stand up for Steve because he is somebody who is taking a lot of risks on our behalf and
Right.
in advocating for us, and we should support him.
He didn't have to do that.
Exactly. There's nothing forcing him to do it. He wants to do it because he feels.
I get very angry when I see people just going after him and attacking him. And I tell them because no man is perfect, first of all. And not everyone would look so good under the media spotlight of it in microscope, right? Luckily, we're not all under that. But who are you to judge? Are you perfect?
Yes.
Not you, Dan.
Oh, what are you saying?
I'm just saying I shame them because I
Yes.
feel that it's wrong. And I'll shame the hell out of them because I tell them you criticize him for something that's none of your business, first of all. You call him this, but do you know him personally to call him this? If not, then, I mean, he's sacrificed a lot to try to get the information to the world, just like all of us are doing. He has a platform to do so, and he used it for good to try to help, and he paid very dearly for that. And I believe that his community, his people should rally behind him.
No, we'll definitely build a statue for him, and for someone like you who is also helping us to a great degree, all the way from Texas.
Thank you. I don't require a statue, though.
Well, apparently I saw a report the other day that the FRK, the Federation of Afrikaans Cultural Societies that has existed since 1929, that they've released a whole new budget for building lots of new statues. So I think we should, we should tell them,
Really?
we should make some suggestions there, or that they can put up a few new statues.
I would die of embarrassment.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you once again, Brandi, for talking to us, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
No, definitely not. I greatly enjoy talking to you.
Great. Until next time then.
Thank you.